Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. I don't know what's going on with all the head jerking. My husband is on his way home. I'm so excited to see him and just kind of relax tonight and watch some TV, maybe check out a movie or something like that. So, I've had such a good day. I ran around with my cousin Caroline all day today. We had cousin fun day. We went out to brunch. I got my hair cut earlier today. I don't know how it looks. What do we think? Well, I've been wearing a hat all day afterwards. Got my hair cut. Then we went to Dunkin' Donuts. And then we went to run a few errands. Then we went to brunch and got pumpkins and mums from my front porch, which I showed over on my Peter Does Stuff channel. I just had such a great day today. I've been so relaxed. Can't wait to spend the night with my husband and my dog tonight. Just relax. So before I get to the vlog to end my day, I thought I would come over here and let's read a few meditations, shall we? Or one, or maybe just one if we get to it. Let's see what the meditations say for today. I brought the Melody Betty books with me, The Language of Letting Go and Journey to the Heart. So any of the books that I read on this channel are listed below, and they are listed to go to my Amazon storefront, and I am a Amazon affiliate in the Amazon affiliate program, which means if you buy anything on my storefront or you buy anything from those links, I do make money off of that. So I just want to be fully aware of that. Any of the books that I talk about in my videos are linked below at my Amazon storefront, just so you guys know. Okay, which I haven't added to or checked in probably a year and a half, so I don't even know if anybody's bought a book over there. All right, let's get into this. Today is October 11th. October 11th is called Recovery. This will be interesting. Just recovery. October 11th. How easy it is to blame our problems on others. Look at what he's doing. Look how long I've waited. Why doesn't she call? If only he'd change, then I'd be happy. Often our accusations aren't justified. Or often our accusations are justified. We probably are feeling hurt and frustrated. In those moments, we may begin to believe that the solution to our pain and frustration is getting the other person to do what we want, or having the outcome we desire. But these self-defeating illusions put the power and control of our life in other people's hands. We call this codependency. This is my husband coming out. Oh, there he is. Hi. The solution to our pain and frustration, however valid, is to acknowledge our own feelings. We feel the anger, the grief, then we let go of the feelings and find peace within ourselves. We know our happiness isn't controlled by another person, even though we may have convinced ourselves it is. We call this acceptance. Then we decide that although we'd like our situation to be different, maybe our life is happening this way for a reason. Maybe there is a higher purpose and plan in play, one that's better than we could have orchestrated. We call this faith. Then we decide what we need to do, what is within our power to do to take care of ourselves. That's called recovery. It's easy to point our finger at another, but it's more rewarding to gently point it at ourselves. Today I will live with my pain and frustration by dealing with my own feelings. You know, this is such a great meditation, such a great reminder. I know it's talking about recovery from codependency, but I think like often in videos when I talk about recovery, and I'm still sick, so my throat it's still a little sore and itching, so I apologize if I cough. But I think often when I talk about recovery, people, I think, immediately assume, and I often even insinuate, that it's, you know, just about recovery from mood-altering substances, drugs, alcohol, things like that, which of course it is, right? But recovery is really about so much more than that to me. Recovery is about a design for living of how you choose to live your life once you put down the drugs and the alcohol. Recovery has very little to do with drugs and alcohol once you put the alcohol and the drug down, you know? It is said to us that we only have yet a daily reprieve from drinking and drugging. And although that's true, recovery is really about what comes after that. You know, in any 12-step program that has to do with substances, the substance is only mentioned in the first step, okay? That in the first step of Alcoholics Anonymous, in the first step of Narcotics Anonymous, in the first step of Heroin Anonymous, in the first step of Cocaine Anonymous, in the first step of Marijuana Anonymous, in the first step of any of these programs, okay? Drugs and alcohol are only mentioned within the first step. The other 11 steps have really nothing to do with drugs and alcohol. They have to do with finding a higher power, doing inventory, cleaning up the wreckage of your past, looking at your character defects, you know, working on a relationship with your higher power and others, practicing these principles on all your affairs, and being of service to others. That's really what the steps are about really becoming a better, different person than you have been in your past. So what we're doing is, we're as a primary disease, which a lot of people don't want to believe it's a disease. I don't really care. Believe what you want. But as a primary issue, where you can't work on growing and changing and becoming a better person if your life is consumed with drugs and alcohol, we must first put down the drugs and alcohol so that we can work on the issues of being a better person, right, in our lives. I think today I understand that in a way that I've never really understood it before. That's not to say that I'm not just as close to the drink or the drug as I was 28 years and 9 months ago. You know, I've seen many friends of mine that have gone out with multiple years of sobriety, 20 years of sobriety, 21 years of sobriety, things like that have gone back out, are still using today and have ruined their lives over drugs and alcohol. That could happen to me, okay? That's why I continue to go to meetings. That's why I have a sponsor. That's why I continue to do the work. But so much of recovery is really about, you know, this whole idea of taking a look at my resentments when I first did them was like, oh wow, if you knew all the resentments that I had in my life, right? But then when you take a look at those resentments and who or what you're resentful at, why you're resentful at them, what they did, how it affected your life, and then the fourth column is, well, what's my part in that? I can remember thinking to myself, well, I don't have any part in this. I don't have any part in my resentment towards somebody else. Well, what that fourth column did was it saved my life. You know, it made me realize in doing inventory that whenever we're looking at a situation, a disagreement that we have with somebody, a falling out with somebody, a bad situation in our life, a misunderstanding, whatever, when I go to looking at my part in that, and often I think it's important to do that with a therapist, a sponsor, a friend, somebody that loves you, that will tell you the truth, so you don't just hear a bunch of yes people telling you did nothing wrong. When you actually take a look at what your part is in every situation, and what you realize is that in any given situation in your life, you have some part in that, okay? Now, I just want to clarify this. I had some horrific shit happen to me in my childhood, okay? That myself nor anybody else that experienced those same things has any part in. But so that I can continue to own my life, okay, and I could be ultimately in control of my life, what I had to realize was my part in that may not have been in the actual event that occurred. My part in that might have been in how I continue to respond to it today. Do I use it as a reason to victimize myself? Do I use it as a reason to excuse myself and get out of things? Do I use it as a reason to not get close to people? Okay? Or am I choosing to do the work, to work through the pain, to work through the issues, to turn my wound into wisdom, and share my story to help it be helpful to other people that have gone through similar things as me, right? That's what I had to learn was my part in it. My part is not in what occurred or what happened to me whatsoever. I was too young for me to even know that what was happening to me was not okay, right? That doesn't mean that you have to be a child. You can be in an abusive relationship as you get older. You don't have a part in that relationship, okay? But maybe that relationship has stopped you from forming other relationships in your life, friendships, things like that down the road, right? Like, there are other ways for us to have a part in things without us being responsible about the action that occurred to us. That's what I had to start taking a look at. But what that fourth column did for me, that anybody can do, you don't have to be in recovery, was it saved my life. Because what it did was it made me realize where I was looking at the world like I have no control. Shit just happens to me left and right and I don't have any control in it. What it made me realize was I have a lot of fucking control. Excuse my language. It's carrying over to all my channels now. I have a lot of control in how I respond to the world. You know, it's like that poster you'd see in school that life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we respond, or something like that. You know, or our attitude, 90% is our attitude. I believe that today. I believe that life is just a very small part of what happens to us, but the majority of it is how we respond or our attitude towards it. I didn't get that for a long time. Sure, it sounded great on a poster. Sure, it was great song lyrics. You know, it was a good sentiment in a movie or a TV show, but did I really live it? No. I lived with my finger pointed at other people. You did this to me. You did that to me. You did this to me. If you had my life, you'd drink too. If you had my life, you'd have the worst life in the entire world. Well, even before I stopped drinking and drugging, I had a pretty good life. Okay, I had a much better life than a lot of people out there that aren't drinking and drugging and are struggling on a daily basis because of the circumstances they were born into. I was very blessed and had a much, much better life than most people. Chose to fuck it up by my choices that I was making in my life. Whether those were inherent and I was born with them, or whether they were learned behaviors or they were disease or whatever, okay? I lived a very blessed life, and I'm fully aware of that, okay? But, you know, what I have to be aware of is today is that I have a choice in how I respond to things. You know, recovery is about faith. It is about, for me, believing, whether you believe in the universe and you're an atheist and you don't believe in a higher power, or whether you believe in a higher power like I do, that you believe that things might happen for a reason. Like maybe it's the season, or maybe it's the tides, or maybe it's God, or maybe you're learning a lesson from it. Whatever you believe in makes sense out of it, right? That these things, we can make, it doesn't mean that something has to happen and it means this happened for this. I don't know that I believe that today. What I believe today is that this happened, I can make sense out of it today. I can use it as a learning experience in my life. Maybe some of those learning experiences are painful, right? But I have faith that even in the most difficult times, the darkest times, I can take something away from it. Not all lessons are pleasant. Some lessons are very difficult. That doesn't mean that I can't take something away from it on how to be a better human being. You know? What are the other two things that it says in here? The other two words that it uses? Well, codependency. You know, I think, and then the other one is acceptance. I mean, it's always interesting to me in meetings when acceptance comes up as a topic, and I'm always kind of like, what's your alternative? Like, you know, like an acceptance is something I fought for years, you know? And today I know, as our basic text tells us, that acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. When, you know, nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Like, that's just kind of how I have to look at it. Even if I don't believe that that's true or not. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I have to, that's what the book says. And I believe that to some degree, you know? It's not like I'm in a cult and I'm told to believe those things. I just, when I look at the world, it's an easier way for me to live than throwing my hands up in the air, pointing my finger at other people, and being like, what's the point? It's easier for me to go, okay, this really wonderful thing happened, or this really horrible thing, this shitty thing happened. How can I make sense of it? What's the takeaway for me on that? So that it's not meaningless in my life. So it's not that it has meaning. I can apply meaning to it, right? I think the codependency part is interesting. I've shared this a lot. You know, when I was in therapy, I always thought that I needed somebody to validate my existence, whether that was my parents, whether that was my friends, whether that was mostly a romantic partner. And when Alex and I were in therapy and we were headed towards divorce, you know, my therapist said to me, if you and Alex didn't make it and you got divorced, would you be okay? Oh no, I'd be devastated. I don't know how I would go on living. But you would eventually be okay. No, I would never be okay. Like, I wouldn't be okay again. I mean, it took a good couple minutes, and finally I was like, he was like, you don't think you'd ever be okay? I mean, yeah, sure, eventually I'd be okay. So you'd be okay if you guys broke up? Well, yeah, I'd be okay. So you're not dependent on him. Like, you don't need him to survive. Well, no. I want him to. Like, I want him in my life. But no, like, I will eventually get over this, and I've gotten over other relationships. I'll move on, and my life will be better. So you don't need a man to validate your life and your existence. Like, you choose to be in Alex's life, he chooses to have you, and you choose to have Alex in your life, he chooses to have you in yours. Boop. Light bulbs going off left and right, you know? The little goosebumps all over my arms. Was the goosies, Paul Abdul calls them on American Idol. You know, the goosies were going off for me. I was like, damn. Then he looked at me and he said, you don't need somebody else to validate your own self-worth and existence. That needs to come from you. That needs to come from inside. Do you know how many times I've been told that over the 20 years before I started seeing him? That I did not need to look for self-worth or self-validation from somebody else. That needed to come from inside me. Why did it take for that day for me to hear that from somebody else, a third party, for me to hear it and the light bulbs go off? I mean, for me to get it. Why did it take another 4 to 5 years for me to really understand that and start putting that into action? I'm a slow learner. I'm a slow-ass learner. I am all day long, right? But that's a lesson I wish I would have gotten a long time ago. That my self-worth is important and it comes from within. And if I can't get there, then I got to do the work. You know? I got to do the work. So anyway, I think that's a great meditation. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I want that love for your own self-worth for you guys as well. Whatever you're going through today, if you're having a tough day, things are going to get better. I promise. The sun will shine again, and this too shall pass. I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.